Yo.
Oh,
That's really loud.
freaking me out, man.
I got to turn that fan off, and I can't hear you at all. And also, we're live, and I'm going to do this. I'll be right back.
Oh, great. Testing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, why am I?
I have a giant face. There you go.
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Off to
setting.
the side there. Yeah.
There
Hi.
you go.
Hi. Good morning. Good evening.
Allora.
I'm not going to snack during the debate, but I have like
I am.
a lot of chocolate lined up.
I have like a stupid apple and a stupid peanut butter.
You rookie.
I would seriously, I would kick myself in the junk for some popcorn.
Okay, that's
Sorry, that was oddly specific.
yeah, it's weird.
Sherry said, thought this said date night. We're gonna host the debate tonight in a half hour, give or take. I'm gonna sneak little bites of my not chocolate.
Okay.
I feel like the news just kept going today. Like it just didn't stop. How do you feel about that? Sorry,
Yeah,
that was an implied question.
I think that's an accurate portrayal of what's happening. We're sort of drinking news from the fire hose right now. Lots of crazy stuff is happening.
Yeah, we're up further in Florida and basically everywhere.
Did you look at the Slate article that I sent you the link to?
The early voting?
Yeah.
Most of it. And
so I want to make a plea to those of you who are watching. In Florida, they start counting the mail-in votes pretty much right away. I think they start on the day that early voting starts. In some states, they're not allowed to start counting votes until the polls closed. But what you can do right now to help the cause, and by the cause, I mean getting rid of Donald J. Trump as president of the United States, is you can get your mail-in ballot in right now. Do not wait. Take it to the supervisor of elections office if you can do that where you are. You can do that where I am. I turned mine in yesterday around 2 p.m. 9 a.m. this morning, I got a text that told me my ballot was received and accounted for, right? So the sooner you do that, the less of a logjam there's going to be once early voting starts and on election day. And the faster the count comes in, the faster we're going to know what's happening. And the Slate article that I was mentioning, referencing when I was talking to Corey just now, basically it says that in Florida, we are key. We are a key. There's nothing more important than an early determination that Florida has gone for Joe Biden by a lot. That's critical. And because they're trying to steal the election. And we don't want to give them any early opportunity to say that it's close or uncountable or there's problems. So the sooner you get your mail-in ballot in, or go vote in person on October 12th when early voting starts, the more momentum or Joe-mentum, if you will, this whole thing, yes, I really did that, we'll have. And this is a serious plea. Get it done. If you need help, if you need answers on judges or school board races or the amendments, please let me know. I'll be happy to help. If you need a ride to drop your ballot off at the supervisor of elections office, let me know. If you need hand-holding when you go to the polls because you're nervous about it, let me know. I'm going to be available to anybody that needs that kind of help. I've probably answered 100 election questions so far for local ballots, and I know pretty much what Pinellas County and Hillsborough County progressives are doing as well. So if you have questions on your ballot, if you don't understand things and you need help, reach out. And if I don't know the answer, I will find someone that does. But vote now. Vote as early as you can. There is urgency here. There's never been urgency like this. And basically, one of the things in the article that really jumped out at me is we're on track to have the highest voter turnout in history. like we may break the 1908 election participation record in the United States of America, which would be that'd be good. I don't know why it's not that high every year, but Jesus, this is the best possible time for that to happen. Yeah, Tampa Bay for Change has slate cards for Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas. That's our friend Sam Ronan's a group that he started on Facebook that keeps track of Black Lives Matter protests and lots of other things that are going on politically. It's a great group, and I belong to it. And we might get Sam to drop in here tonight. That could happen. So be ready for that, because he's a charmer. He's a fun guy. What else? Can we talk about Eddie Van Halen?
He died.
Yeah, he did. Are you a fan?
No.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, like, do I have a grudging required respect as a musician? Yes.
Right.
Have I ever listened to anything he's ever done on purpose one time? No.
Oh, man, that's crazy. I would tell you, as a kid who was in 8th grade when Eruption, Running with the Devil came out, nothing had ever sounded like that before. It was kind of mind-blowing. It was like completely new and different. Like the same kind of feeling people got when Guns N' Roses first hit the air. Everybody went, what the hell just happened? Van Halen had that same effect on us. And I wasn't a huge fan of him as a person, but yeah, I went back and listened to some nostalgic early cuts, and I like them better with David Lee Roth. So sue me. It's masturbatory rock. Well, yeah, it came out when I was learning how to masturbate. So duh.
There it is. I can't lie. The second that came out, it's like, this is where this is going to end up.
Yeah. I grew up on it. And lots of cul-de-sac drinking parties late in the night with lots of teenagers. That was our stuff right there.
Corey doesn't understand Van Halen because Canada. I will fill you in that there were many, many, many Van Halen fans in the Canada. So it's just me. Yeah, I'm a nerd.
Well, they were pretty amazing. So there's that. Anyway. Yeah,
and when Zoe shows up, she comes out guns blazing. Eddie Van Halen actually stepped on my hand at a concert, broke one of my fingernails, which I kept in a Ziploc bag for about 2 decades.
And Fred, I've secretly always resented him for marrying Valerie Bertinelli. It's not a secret. We all know how you feel about Valerie Bertinelli, and therefore we know that you resent him.
Yeah, we could have inferred.
That's not a mystery, buddy.
So you guys feel like playing with 270 to win, or
what's that?
Yeah, I'll show you.
Oh, sorry, Donna. I mean, it was a one-off joke, so we'll try to keep it under control.
So, which of the light blue states do you think are most likely to lose?
Wait, say that again.
So look at all these light blue lean Democrat states.
Yeah.
Like right now,
Wisconsin.
This election looks like, oh, look, we're winning. Yeah, Wisconsin.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Ohio, though, like that moved. But let's lose Wisconsin. Wasn't PA kind of close?
Pennsylvania is pretty close.
Okay, Pennsylvania's kind of close. Okay, so now we're in like true toss-up area. So that's fun. Yeah, Arizona and Nevada. I mean, I feel like we're doing all right there. Colorado we're destroying, which is hilarious. Oh, what happens if we get Florida? Oh, we win. Oh.
What if we lose Florida and get Texas?
Oh, it's over. Like it's really over. Like way over.
Yeah. So the point you're making here is that there's a lot of ways for Joe Biden to win. And there are not many ways for Donald J. Trump to win.
Well, okay, Greg. Okay, Greg. Sorry for eating on the microphone. I'm sure that sounds super awesome. What do you guys think Trump could actually win?
Of what? Of the states that are in brown? I can't really see this. It's too small for me to see, so I'm not sure what exactly I'm.
Oh, please hold. I can fix that. Maybe.
Okay, so the brown states are the toss-up states.
How do we like that? Is that better?
That works.
You don't have to sound so excited about it.
Yeah. So the brown states are the toss-up states.
That's right. Ooh,
I think Trump could win Georgia, Ohio, and Iowa, and Wisconsin.
And, well, Texas, presumably.
Okay.
Look at that. Like, with literally all of those states in the bag, there's still, like, he has to, this isn't even enough. He's got to win Florida. He has to win Florida.
So the thing we were just talking about, which is the urgency of you turning in your ballot, getting it in, getting it counted. If you're a Florida voter, we cannot stress enough how important it is for you to do that. It is super, super critical, and you should do
it. Florida should always be brown. It's fitting. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just it's crazy pants. Yeah, man. Like the for sure Trump state's 88. The for sure Biden state, electoral vote's 188. It's a pretty good way to start, I think.
Yeah, no, anyways, Trump is not up by 3 in Florida, Donna.
No, we're up by 5. I think we're up by 5 as an average, which is crazy. In fact, I'm gonna go look again. If anyone else has newsy stuff they want to talk about, they can. I'm just like knee deep in polls.
Yeah, I don't remember the specifics, Sue, but I believe they don't start counting them until the day that early voting starts, which I think is the 12th. But if you get your ballot in, it will be counted right away. It'll be counted quickly, and that's important. Having that bulwark for Biden. There's another reason that's important. The campaign, once they know your ballot has been received, some smart aleck like me is in a room somewhere every day running call lists for his volunteers to use and door knocking lists when we're doing that. And I don't want to have to knock doors or phone call people who have already voted. Right? That's a waste of resources. So every day they run new lists of people to call, and those lists are updated daily by the state Democratic Party because of their access to voter information. So if you vote now, you're off the list, and nobody has to waste resources in chasing down your phone or making a phone call to you to get you to vote because they know you already have. So the sooner you vote, the less resources the Biden campaign and all the other independents that are working for progressive ideas in this campaign, like For Our Future. Our friend Heather is an organizer there, as is Sam. Their jobs become easier. I know their job's never going to become easier, but the pool of voters they have to reach to affect the election is much smaller once they know you voted. So vote. God damn it. Go do it. Get it done.
Yeah. That's the thing, too. Bob said then he rejects the election. Let's put it this way. All of these elections are done by the individual states themselves.
Right.
Their results will be certified by the boards of elections of these states, most of which take their job somewhat seriously.
Yes.
So, like, if it comes down to Florida, could they get the Florida legislature to say, like, mail-in voting is the dumbest thing ever when they've been doing it forever? Yeah. I mean, they might try to do that. But I who knows?
Heather, easier. Ha ha ha. Yeah. I heard how stupid it sounded the second it came out of my mouth. So don't worry. I caught myself there.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
That I said you voting now makes an organizer's job easier. And she's like, easier. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. I want to make sure that you guys are aware, if you've never paid close attention, people like Heather St. Amand and Sam and our friend Anthony Avila, they are organizers. They are working very hard to get progressive ideas and candidates elected in this election cycle. I did that in 2018 and it really killed me. I had a heart attack mid-season. It is brutally hard, and you run as fast as you can from early October through election night. And the punchline for us on election night in 2018 was everything was too close to call, and I got called at 11:30 at night. I planned on going home and passing out for 4 days, but I got called election night and asked if I would go to Hernando County and supervise be an observer for the Democratic Party in the recount process because the gubernatorial race was so close. A couple of other races were very close, but they're working extremely hard, and they will be working nonstop 7 days a week right on through Election Day. So if you run into your local Progressive or Democratic Party organizer out there in the world, give them a hug and buy them the beverage of their choice, because they deserve your love and support.
So about Wisconsin and Pennsylvania.
Yes.
They're not close. They're not close. The last poll that came out was 13 points. The average
for who?
For Biden.
Okay.
The average of all the other polls that ended around the 4th is 8. That's pretty significant.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And Wisconsin is a little bit less. I would say a very consistent 5 or 6 up. And I guess the only reason why they're calling Florida the way they are is because it's actually swung recently. Like it definitely has had polls that were stronger for dipshit.
Right.
Well, in July though, yeah, no, like everything October and later, the lowest is 4, and that was on a not as good of a poll. The best poll with the highest sample had 11. That's fucking incredible.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys to everyone. Thank you for everybody who's going out and getting their ballots in early. Everything that Greg just said is entirely true, right? With mail-in balloting versus, the thing, like, which is with everybody voting so early, there's going to be a total for mail-in balloting that is going to be able to compete with the initial vote totals of the evening, and that's going to be huge to just put this to fucking bed.
Right. Becca, I'm curious about what you said. Ed and I are voting tomorrow, and we're bringing our daughters to vote too. I think you mean turning in your ballots, because early voting does not start until later in the month. I just want to make sure you got your dates right. According to this, it starts on the 19th. Early voting doesn't start until the 19th of October. So, and I missed a lot of what Corey was saying there. Sorry, guys. I was trying to make sure I had that right.
Ain't no thing.
Lori's reminding us, have we got our streaming plan together, Corey?
I'm working that together right now.
All right. That's good. How do you convince third-party voters that their vote still helps Trump stay in office? I don't know. If you figure it out, let me know.
With a 2x4.
I that's been one of the most frustrating conversations I've had in the last 4 years. A vote for a third-party candidate is a vote for Donald J. Trump. It's pretty simple.
Unless you're a white supremacist who just doesn't like Donald J. Trump. In which case, like, fuck you twice, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer. Yeah, early vote. Okay, Becca's asking when. Early voting starts Monday, October 19th. You can vote by mail. You can turn in your vote by mail ballot at the supervisor of elections office now during the regular business hours, but you can't vote early until later in October. So, okay, so we're voting on the 19th in person. There you go. That's good. I expect that the early voting is going to be busy. So pack a lunch.
Pack 2 lunches.
Yes, but not 2 ballots, because that's not a thing that you can do. Right. Despite what the president said, you can't do that. I can't believe that we have to be the side of correction there. Craziness. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who started a watch party, but all right. I don't know. Hi, Anna.
Steve Kornacki. Oh, awesome. Corey said I was watching MSNBC, and Steve Kornacki, I always butcher his last name, was going over the numbers in battleground states. Yeah, his love of the big board is it's one of the things that I absolutely love.
He's an object of much affection in local Democratic Party girl circles.
I mean,
he's much beloved by some of the active Democrats I know.
Okay. All right. I mean,
is he wearing the white sneakers tonight? Apparently, that's the thing. When he wears the white sneakers, they get all, oh, he's wearing the white sneakers.
No. Yeah, Lori nailed it. The plexiglass wins the debate. I think that is kind of going to end up being true.
She should bring that up everything that comes up. He's in charge of the coronavirus task force, and I have to protect myself from him.
Tap, tap, tap. Yeah.
That's how good a job they're doing.
Like getting right up to the plexiglass and like, hello, sir. Tap, tap, tap. I would like to come and hang out with you, but you hang out with infected people all the time. Just don't wear their fucking masks. You fucking fuck.
Okay, so Anna is saying, so basically I moved to Michigan but still registered in Florida. Can I still vote from Michigan somehow with my... Oh, shit, it just moved. I didn't...
Yeah, no, somehow with my Florida voters registration. I mean...
No.
Yeah, you want to be super careful with that. And Michigan is kind of close too. Like your vote is almost as important in Michigan.
I believe that you can ask for a vote by mail ballot now, but the timing is going to be, is difficult. PascoVotes.com, because I know you lived in Pasco County. Go to the Supervisor of Elections website, call their office, ask them what you need to do to vote, and see what they say. And if you can't, then you need to change your registration up there. And I don't know what the end dates are for things like that. So yeah, we really need your vote. Okay, I'm going to register tomorrow here. If you still can, I don't know what the deadline is for voter registration in Michigan.
I'm finding out right now.
Yep.
Election deadlines online October 19th, by mail postmarked 19th. This is registration, so you have until the 19th. So yeah, for sure, do it tomorrow. In person, you can register in person up until November fucking 3rd. But I would imagine that Michigan, online, but in Michigan, yes,
right.
So that's cool. But yeah, I would definitely check it out online because it looks like you can do that there.
That's good. That's what you should do. Yeah, your vote would have great value in Michigan for sure.
So yeah, Michigan.gov looks like that's where you would want to go.
Good
cool.
Deal.
All right, there you go. Aren't we freaking helpful? Boop, doop,
Occasionally. Yes.
I like turtles. That Steve Schmidt rant from earlier today, but after coffee this morning. Like ordinarily, like Steve Schmidt does these big, huge, long, like, pro-democracy, thinks he's writing as Lincoln, kind of sort of pulls off that level of gravitas with some edge to it. And then Trump said something mean to him and called him rude. And then Steve Schmidt just took out the fucking machine gun and just like it was epic.
Yeah, it was a smackdown of epic proportions.
It was.
That's for sure. Hey, 40 concurrent viewers. Please share this debate feed if you would.
48.
So
what was our record last time? Like 55?
I don't remember. 43 now. So
I'm seeing 49. So I don't know what you're seeing. Oh, I'm probably seeing YouTube. And if you're looking at the Facebook,
I'm on the Facebook feed. Yeah.
Yeah. We have YouTube people watching as well.
Hey, YouTube people. Nice to see you. Nice to be here. Getting pie. Damn it. I'm jealous. Corey's eating. Lori's eating. Greg's just sitting over here.
I could pull that rant up. I think I sent it to Greg.
I don't remember.
It's weird that I just used your name.
I know. You didn't call me G Money or anything.
I know. Well, yeah, but I also like you're not here. It was a little weird. Oh, Beto thinks the Democratic House or the House could go to a Democratic majority in Texas this time, which is really, really insanely good for everything. We need to. Apparently, Mom got the invite but didn't get in here. So let me see if I can tag her.
Yeah, for the millions of people that messaged me today and asked me to send them a link to this feed, I'm sorry I can't get to that. There's a lot of you that asked. People are like, well, message me the link. Yeah. So,
all right.
Sorry if I didn't get to all that, but yeah, I'm sure Pence is nervous right now. I don't know. He's a better debater than people think. Donovan Meter, would you like some chocolate fudge? No, I don't want to eat while I'm doing the broadcast. That's I appreciate
Laugh Track is the best.
I know.
She is the best.
I know. Kelly Smith, Greg, I'm not eating anything here because I don't want to choke on any of the times Kamala says something brilliant.
That's smart.
Nice. Carrie Redmond, newly registered voter. Welcome to the party, pal. I'm so glad you did that. Your strategy is a little weird, but I'm glad that you registered. That's a good thing. So good for you. Good for us. Good for all of us. And I'm not gonna say why I think that's an amazing thing. I'll leave that to you. So,
is that Kamala Harris right there in the crowd?
I don't think so. The
United States Hamilton.
Can you guys hear that?
Debates when it comes to exclusive tickets.
No.
Yes.
I forgot. You could hear that?
Welcome to
oh, sorry. Okay.
Vice President Pence's family, I think is there, and to Senator Kamala Harris's family on this side, and most especially to my bosses who are seated right up there.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that they came and joined us.
Capitalism sucks.
From USA Today and from Gannett. We're glad that you're here. But this debate is not about you, and it's not about me. It's about the millions of Americans who are going to be watching it. And that's why I'm going to ask you for your help. I'm going to ask you for your silence. I'm going to ask you during the debate not to cheer or to boo or to hiss or to laugh, because that is distracting.
That's why people come here instead of there.
That's right. So what happened?
I fucked everything up. Come on, lady. Oh, for crying in the sink. I should have just muted it. Watch, people are going to mutiny. Everything's going to be go to hell. Boink. Complete with sound effects.
Other stuff running,
and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks again for being here.
I am going to get rid of some of this stuff, though.
Yeah, Andy says volume is low.
Okay, I'll jack it up. That's as high as it goes. We could try it here.
Oh, debate starts in 6 minutes, so we have more vamping to do.
Does it start in 6 minutes?
Right on the bottom of the screen, it says Vice Presidential debate starts 6 minutes.
Oh, look at that. Okay. Let me see what you guys think of the volume level on this.
Dave Myers. God damn it. I was really looking forward to hissing. Hiss away, buddy.
Yeah, hiss, dude. I'm all about it. That seems a little louder, right?
USA Today. Susan Page is going to be the moderator tonight. We tried last week to take it when Chris Wallace was doing that.
Oh, no, we took it.
I had this big build up to it. I was like, he's going to give the rules. You guys ready? And then he...
Yeah, no, we took it. There
We
just
did
wasn't
take
any audio. David Pluff.
Sorry, David Pluff. I interrupted you because I felt like I had to make good on that. Please continue.
Finish your thought.
Well, there's 5 million people that have voted. My guess is another 2 weeks, another 10 million will have voted. Election day is 5 days earlier this year. The other thing I'd say, Rachel, is Donald Trump had the worst 7 days that I can remember in presidential campaign history.
Yeah.
He has no time to lose. So he's now losing to Joe Biden nationally by 10 points. I don't believe he's down 10 in Pennsylvania, but he's down 6 to 7 at a time when ballots are being cast. So that's the reason I think we need to look at this debate tonight. Listen, Mike Pence is not going to be a barking, frothing, rabid dog for 90 minutes. I'm sure people are going to say that was better than Donald Trump. But did voters decide to do something different after the debate than for the debate?
Yeah.
And if they don't do that, that's another missed opportunity for the Trump-Pence ticket.
Hey guys, this is Joy. So my question just first to you, David, and then to you, Michael. You know, we just talked about the fact that the Access Hollywood tape dropped, you know, around this time or
4 years ago today.
4 years ago today.
Wow.
But what struck me about that is that at the time, people already had an opinion about Donald Trump that was formed from The Apprentice. So it didn't fundamentally change that much for him because people already saw him as a cad and they built that in, they priced that in to whatever they thought about him. Whereas what happened with Hillary Clinton, when James Comey came out and dropped that bomb, 11 days out from the election, that fed into whatever, you know, biases people had against her, and it seemed to hurt her. I wonder if anything could, as you just said, could possibly change about the way things are now, given how stable Donald Trump's 40-some-odd% are? It never changes. Wouldn't it have to be something about Biden?
Did you know that Biden's son got a job in Ukraine, Greg? Did you know that, eh?
Well, Joy, I think the polling we've seen in the last 7 days surprises me a little bit because Donald Trump is reaching a new low. I think his floor is lower than we thought, even though it's sturdy. So, yes, the only two things that could change the race, I think, were some massive turnout advantage that the Trump campaign is able to materialize, or, Biden really struggles in the two debates. But at the end of the day, what happened in the last week, Trump being a maniacal bully in front of, most of the people that are going to vote. And then he gets diagnosed with the coronavirus by having a super spreader event at the White House. A virus that he has downplayed. It's almost like if Neville Chamberlain in 1938 both appeased the Germans and was taken prisoner. Okay, it underscores the central argument that Joe Biden is making against Donald Trump. So again, in every day that goes, election day is 5 days earlier, millions have voted, and there's very few people. This time, 4 years ago, we still had 15 to 70% of the electorate saying they might change their mind. Right now, that's under 5%.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just at the top of the hour right now, so I
That
just want to
number
take a
makes
moment to
me happy.
welcome anybody who's just joining us now. The start of the vice presidential debate is literally moments away. Before we get to that, we've got about 2 minutes until the candidates come out. Michael Still, I want to ask you to weigh in on that same question from Joy as to whether or not this is a baked cake at this point, and whether any sort of externality would be important to potentially nudge the election in a determinative way.
Well, in all the campaigns I've ever done, there's never a baked cake. The cake is not baked until you get it out of the oven, and actually until you start eating it. And even then, you may realize it could have stayed in the oven a little longer. The reality of it is, for both campaigns, to David's point, the runway is a lot longer for Joe to take off. I mean, he's got the engines going. He's hitting his stride. Trump, the runway's a lot shorter, so he's got to accelerate in a way in which every moment he gets to take advantage of the opportunity to get a voter to come to his corner. The problem is he's wasted 3.5 years doing that. And so the idea that you're somehow going to find this mythical group of voters that has not made up their mind, or that are there just waiting for you to ask them to vote for you, is just problematic for the Trump campaign. And the revelations around COVID-19, which is something they didn't want to talk about, hitting the White House the way it has, and then most especially the president's own behavior, flattens that cake and makes it hard to even get it out of the oven, let alone eat it.
That is now a metaphor that's been stretched to the point where it's making me hungry and also a little nauseous.
Good for you, Rachel.
If anybody can do it, it's you. Former RNC Chairman Michael Steele, former Obama campaign manager David Plouffe. Gentlemen, an honor to have both of you with us tonight. It's going to be fun watching this with you over the course of tonight. Thank you. We're about 1 minute away from when we expect the candidates on the stage. Can I just tell you both before this starts, I am looking forward to being able to hear what each of the candidates says.
Right? Same.
I'm still not over just the cacophonous assault, the oral assault of last week's debate. And I think that whatever we're going to get from Harris and Pence, I expect that we'll be able to hear each of them speak.
I can still remember, and I do have a bit of PTSD, honestly, from it. The three of us looking at each other like, what is happening? Because you literally couldn't understand what anyone was saying.
Yeah.
It was horrific. And you're
almost from the very, very beginning.
From the opening line, it was
He couldn't stop talking. And I think that the fact that it did so much harm to him politically and to the process and to all these things we hold dear makes the stakes so much higher for the Pence side tonight.
That's right. Well, you know, both candidates are both campaigns are supposed to raise debate expectations about the other side.
Yeah.
I think that there are high expectations about Mike Pence. I don't actually think the Trump side has done. They've had their distractions to deal with. I don't think they've done a good good job raising expectations.
They're running around looking for PPE, which we know is in short supply.
Thank God. Well,
and mocking her for wanting a barrier. Of course she wants a barrier. You kidding?
This will be the one and only vice presidential debate of this election season. Again, this is the University of Utah. The moderator is Susan Page of USA Today. We expect it to begin right now. Good evening.
From the University of Utah in Salt Lake City, welcome to the first and only vice presidential debate of 2020, sponsored by the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm Susan Page of USA Today. It is my honor to moderate this debate, an important part of our democracy. In Kingsbury Hall tonight, we have a small and socially distant audience, and we've taken extra precautions during this pandemic. Among other things, everyone in the audience is required to wear a face mask, and the candidates will be seated 12 feet apart. The audience is enthusiastic about their candidates, but they've agreed to express that enthusiasm only twice, at the end of the debate and now when I introduce the candidates. Please welcome California Senator Kamala Harris and Vice President Mike Pence.
Woo woo! For the first one. Evil robot.
Thank you.
Senator Harris and Vice President Pence, thank you for being here. We're meeting as President Trump and the First Lady continue to undergo treatment in Washington after testing positive for COVID-19. We send our thoughts and prayers to them for their rapid and complete recovery and for the recovery of everyone afflicted by the coronavirus. The two campaigns and the Commission on Presidential Debates have agreed to the ground rules for tonight. I'm here to enforce them on behalf of the millions of Americans who are watching. One note, no one in either campaign or at the Commission or anywhere else has been told in advance what topics I'll raise or what questions I'll ask. This 90-minute debate will be divided into 9 segments of about 10 minutes each. I'll begin a segment by posing a question to each of you, sometimes the same question, sometimes a different question on the same topic. You will then have 2 minutes to answer without interruption by me or the other candidate. Then we'll take 6 minutes or so to discuss the issue. At that point, although there will always be more to say, we'll move on to the next topic. We want a debate that is lively, but Americans also deserve a discussion that is civil. These are tumultuous times, but we can and will have a respectful exchange about the big issues facing our nation. Let's begin with the ongoing pandemic that has cost our country so much. Senator Harris, the coronavirus is not under control. Over the past week, Johns Hopkins reports that 39 states have had more COVID cases over the past 7 days than in the week before. 9 states have set new records. Even if a vaccine is released soon, the next administration will face hard choices. What would a Biden administration do in January and February that a Trump administration wouldn't do? Would you impose new lockdowns for businesses and schools and hotspots? A federal mandate to wear masks? You have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Thank you, Susan. Well, the American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country. And here are the facts. 210,000 dead people in our country in just the last several months. Over 7 million people who have contracted this disease. 1 in 5 businesses closed. We're looking at frontline workers who have been treated like sacrificial workers. We are looking at over 30 million people who in the last several months had to file for unemployment. And here's the thing. On January 28th, the Vice President and the President were informed about the nature of this pandemic. They were informed that it's lethal in consequence, that it is airborne, that it will affect young people, and that it would be contracted because it is airborne. And they knew what was happening and they didn't tell you. Can you imagine if you knew on January 28th, as opposed to March 13th, what they knew, what you might have done to prepare? They knew and they covered it up. The president said it was a hoax. They minimized the seriousness of it. The president said, you're on one side of his ledger if you wear a mask, you're on the other side of his ledger if you don't. And in spite of all of that, today they still don't have a plan. They still don't have a plan. Well, Joe Biden does. And our plan is about what we need to do around a national strategy for contact tracing, for testing, for administration of the vaccine and making sure that it will be free for all. That is the plan that Joe Biden has and that I have, knowing that we have to get a hold of what has been going on and we need to save our country. And Joe Biden is the best leader to do that. And frankly, this administration has forfeited their right to re-election based on this.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, more than 210,000 Americans have died of COVID-19 since February. The U.S. death toll as a percentage of our population is higher than that of almost every other wealthy nation on earth. For instance, our death rate is 2.5 times that of Canada next door. You head the administration's coronavirus task force. Why is the U.S. death toll as a percentage of our population higher than that of almost every other wealthy country? And you have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Susan, thank you. And I want to thank the Commission and the University of Utah for hosting this event. And Senator Harris, it's a privilege to be on the stage with you. And our nation has gone through a very challenging time this year. But I want the American people to know that from the very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of America first. Before there
Bullshit!
were more than 5 cases in the United States, all people who had returned from China. President Donald Trump did what no other American president had ever done.
He let 400,000 more Chinese people in.
Travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Senator Joe Biden opposed that decision. He said it was xenophobic and hysterical. But I can tell you, having led the White House Coronavirus Task Force, that decision alone by President Trump bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II.
I'm not sure I'd admit that I led that task force. The look on Kamala's face already is just
reinvent testing. More than 115 million tests have been done to date. We were able to see to the delivery of billions of supplies so our doctors and nurses had the resources support they needed. And we began really before the month of February was to develop a vaccine and to develop medicines and therapeutics that have been saving lives all along the way. And under President Trump's leadership, Operation Warp Speed, we believe we'll have literally tens of millions of doses of a vaccine before the end of this year. The reality is, when you look at the Biden plan, it reads an awful lot like what President Trump and I and our task force have been doing every step of the way. I mean, quite frankly, when I look at their plan that talks about advancing testing, creating new PPE, developing a vaccine, it looks a little bit like plagiarism, which is something Joe Biden knows a little bit about.
Oh my
I think
God.
the American people know that this is a president who has put the health of America first, and the American people, I believe with my heart, can be proud of the sacrifices they have made. It saved countless.
You're awesome. Thank you, Donna.
Senator Harris, would you like to respond?
Absolutely. Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked. When you're looking at over 210,000 dead bodies in our country, American lives that have been lost, families that are grieving that loss. And you know, the vice president is the head of the task force and knew on January 28th how serious this was. And then thanks to Bob Woodward, we learned that they knew about it. And then when that was exposed, the vice president said, when asked, well, why didn't y'all tell anybody? He said, because the president wanted people to remain calm.
Well, let's get
no, but Susan, this is important.
Susan,
I want to add, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I'm
speaking.
Yeah, you can have 15 more seconds, and then we'll give the vice president a chance to respond.
So I want to ask the American people, how calm were you when you were panicked about where you're going to get your next roll of toilet paper? How calm were you when your kids were sent home from school and you didn't know when they could go back? How calm were you when your children couldn't see your parents because you were afraid they could kill them?
Let's give Vice President Pence a chance to respond. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute to respond.
You know, there's not
She's loving this.
I haven't thought of every American family that's lost a loved one.
Me too.
And I want all of you to know that you'll always be in our hearts and in our prayers.
Thoughts and
But
prayers.
when you say what the
dummies.
American people have done over these last 8 months hasn't worked, that's a great disservice to the sacrifices the American people have made.
Oh, come on.
The reality, if I may finish, Senator, the reality is Dr. Fauci said everything that he told the president in the Oval Office, the president told the American people. Now, President Trump, I will tell you, has boundless confidence in the American people, and he always spoke with confidence that we'd get through this together. But when you say it hasn't worked, when Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and our medical experts came to us in the second week of March, they said if the president didn't take the unprecedented step of shutting down roughly half of the American economy, that we could lose 2.2 million Americans. And that's the reality.
Thank you.
They also
Thank you,
said
Vice
to us, if we
President
did everything right, Susan, we could still lose more than 200,000 Americans.
Vice President,
They said 60, then they said 100.
But the American people, I believe, deserve credit for the sacrifices that they have made, putting the health of their family and their neighbors first, our doctors, our nurses, our first.
Shut up,
Vice
Casper.
President Pence.
And I'm going to speak up on behalf of what the American people have done.
Vice President Pence, you were in the front
Richie
row
Rich.
in a Rose Garden event 11 days ago at what seems to have been a super spreader event for senior administration and congressional officials. Oops. No social distancing, few masks, and now a cluster of coronavirus cases among those who were there. How can you expect Americans to follow the administration's safety guidelines to protect themselves from COVID when you at the White House have not been doing so?
Well, the American people have demonstrated over the last 8 months that when given the facts, they're willing to put the health of their families and their neighbors and people they don't even know first.
When given the
And
facts,
President Trump and I have great confidence in the American people and their ability to take that
Because they don't live among us.
and put it into practice.
That's why we
In the
lied
height
to
of
them to
the
keep them calm.
epidemic, when we were losing a heartbreaking number of 2,500 Americans a day, we surged resources to New Jersey and New York and New Orleans and Detroit. We told the American people what needed to be done, and the American people made the sacrifices. When the outbreak in the Sun Belt happened this summer, again, Americans stepped forward. But the reality is the work of the President of the United States goes on. A vacancy on the Supreme Court of the United States has come upon us, and the president introduced Judge Amy Coney
Yes,
Barrett.
thank you. Thank you, Vice President.
I was like, you want to talk about that now?
Rose Garden event.
You crazy?
There's been a great deal of speculation about it. My wife Karen and I were there and honored to be there. Many of the people who were at that event, Susan, actually were tested for coronavirus, and it was an outdoor event, which all of our scientists regularly and routinely advise.
No, it wasn't.
The difference here is President Trump and I trust the American people to
Oh,
make
God.
choices in the best interest of their health. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris consistently talk about mandates, and not just mandates with the coronavirus, but a government takeover of health care.
Tell him
Thank
to
you.
shut the
Green New
fuck
Deal,
up.
All government control. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
Let's talk about respecting the American people. You respect the American people when you tell them the truth. You respect the American people when you have the courage
Which we've
to be a
always
leader,
done.
speaking of those things that you may not want people to hear, but they need to hear so they can protect themselves. But this administration stood on information that if you had as a parent, if you had as a worker, knowing you didn't have enough money saved up, and now you're standing in a food line because of the ineptitude of an administration that was unwilling to speak the truth to the American people. So let's talk about caring about the American people. The American people have had to sacrifice far too much because of the incompetence of this administration. It is asking too much of the people.
Susan, we talked
No,
about
Vice
It is
President,
asking too much of the people. That they would not be equipped with the information they need to help themselves to protect
Susan,
their parents
President-
and
No,
their
I'm sorry.
children.
Kamala Harris, Senator Harris, I'm sorry.
It's fine, I'm Kamala.
No, you're Senator Harris to me. For life to get back to normal, Dr. Anthony Fauci and other experts say that most of the people who can be vaccinated need to be vaccinated. But half of Americans now say they wouldn't take a vaccine if it was released now. If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Vice President Pence, there have been a lot of repercussions from this pandemic. In recent days, the president's diagnosis of COVID-19 has underscored the importance of the job that you hold and that you are seeking. That's our second topic tonight. It's the role of the vice president. One of you will make history on January 20th. You will be the vice president to the oldest president the United States has ever had. Donald Trump will be 74 years old on Inauguration Day. Joe Biden will be 78 years old. That already has raised concerns among some voters, concerns that have been sharpened by President Trump's hospitalization in recent days. Vice President Pence, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with President Trump about safeguards or procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential disability? And if not, do you think you should? You have 2 minutes without interruption.
Well, Susan, thank you. Although I would like to go back.
I think we need to move on
well,
to the
thank
issue
you,
of
but I would like to
vice
go back
presidency.
because the reality is that we're going to have a vaccine, Senator, in record time, in unheard of time, in less than a year.
Fuck you.
We have
That's
5
not a good
companies
thing.
In
It's
phase
just
3
Trump
clinical
shit,
trials,
like-
and we're right now producing tens of millions of doses.
That's probably not true.
I don't
The fact
think
that
that's
you
true.
Continue to undermine public confidence in a vaccine.
He just,
If the
she
vaccine
just did the
emerges during
opposite.
the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable.
Oh, for
And Senator,
fuck's sake.
I just ask you,
I hope people can see through this.
stop playing politics with people's lives.
Oh,
The reality is that we will have a vaccine we believe, before the
motherfucker.
end of this year, and it will have the capacity to save countless American lives. And
He's that
your
preacher
continuous
up at the front of the room,
undermining
just lying to
of
people.
confidence in a vaccine is just it's just unacceptable. And let me also say, you know, the reality is when you talk about failure in this administration, we actually do know what failure looks like.
Oh,
in a
here we go.
pandemic. It was 2009. The swine flu arrived in the United States. Thankfully, it ended up not being as lethal as the coronavirus.
Go
But
on.
before the end of the year, when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, not 7.5 million people contracted the swine flu. 60 million Americans contracted the swine flu. If the swine flu had been as lethal as the coronavirus in 2009, when Joe Biden was vice president, we would have lost 2 million American lives. His own chief of staff, Ron Klain, would say last year that it was pure luck that they did, quote, everything possible wrong. And we learned from that. They left the strategic national stockpile empty. They left
That's a lie.
an empty and hollow plan, but we
Thank
still
you.
What do you
learned
mean?
from
The
it.
plan was
And
fucking
think
fantastic.
American
Jesus
people,
Christ, this
and
guy's
I'll
a piece
say
of
again,
shit.
can be
Vice
proud
President Pence, I'm
of
sorry, your
what
time
we
is
have
up.
done.
Yeah, just
and Senator,
cut his mic
please
off.
Thank you,
Cut his
Vice
mic off.
undermining confidence in a vaccine.
Senator Harris, let me ask you the same question that I asked Vice President Pence, which is, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with Vice President Biden about safeguards or procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential disability? And if not, and if you win the election next month, do you think you should? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So let me tell you, first of all, the day I got the call from Joe Biden, it was actually a Zoom call, asking me to serve with him on this ticket was probably one of the most memorable days of my life. I thought about my mother, who came to the United States at the age of 19, gave birth to me at the age of 25 at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. And the thought that I'd be sitting here right now, I know would make her proud, and she must be looking down on this. Joe and I were raised in a very similar way. We were raised with values that are about hard work, about the value and the dignity of public service, and about the importance of fighting for the dignity of all people. And I think Joe asked me to serve with him because, I have a career that included being elected the first woman district attorney of San Francisco, where I created models of innovation for law enforcement in terms of reform of the criminal justice system. I was elected the first woman of color and Black woman to be elected Attorney General of the state of California, where I ran the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, second only to the United States Department of Justice. And there I took on everything from transnational criminal organizations to the big banks that were taking advantage of homeowners to for-profit colleges that were taking advantage of veterans. And then, of course, now I serve in the United States Senate as only the second Black woman ever elected to the United States Senate. I serve on the Senate Intelligence Committee, where I've been in regular receipt of classified information about threats to our nation and hotspots around the world. I've traveled the world. I've met with our soldiers in war zones. And I think Joe has asked me to serve with him because he knows that we share a purpose, which is about lifting up the American people And after the 4 years that we have seen of Donald Trump unifying our country around our common values and principles.
Thank you, Senator Harris. You know, neither President Trump nor Vice President Biden has released a sort of detailed health information that had become the modern norm until the 2016 election. And in recent days, President Trump's doctors have given misleading answers or refused to answer basic questions about his health. And my question to each of you in turn is this information voters deserve to know? Vice President Pence, would you like to go first?
Well, Susan, thank you. And let me say on behalf of the President and the First Lady, how moved we've all been by the outpouring of prayers and concern for the President. And I do believe it's emblematic of the prayers and the concern that have ushered forth for every American impacted by the coronavirus. But the care the President received at Walter Reed Hospital, the White House doctors, was exceptional. And the transparency that they practiced all along the way will continue. The American people have right
they lied
to
a bunch
know
of
about the
times,
health
just in
and
case anyone's
well-being
wondering about that.
of their president, and will continue
And
to
got
do
caught.
that. But I'm just extremely grateful and was more than a little moved by the broad and bipartisan support. And Senator, I want to thank you and Joe Biden for your expressions of genuine concern. And I also want to congratulate you, as I did on that phone call, on the historic nature of your nomination.
Thank you.
I never expected to be on this.
Sounds
stage
like a
4
dog
years
whistle to
ago,
white
so I
nationalists
know
coming
the
out of his
feeling.
mouth.
But the reality is, we've got an election before the American people in the midst of this challenging year, and the stakes have never been higher. But I think the choice has never been clear.
I want to give Senator Harris a chance to respond to the same question I asked, which is, do voters have a right to know more detailed health information about presidential candidates and especially about presidents, especially when they're facing some kind of challenge?
Absolutely. And that's why Joe Biden has been so incredibly transparent. And certainly by contrast, the president has not, both in terms of health records, but also let's look at taxes. We now know, because of great investigative journalism, that Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. When I first heard about it, I literally said, "You mean $750,000? And it was like, no, $750. We now know Donald Trump owes and is in debt for $400 million. And just so everyone is clear, when we say in debt, it means you owe money to somebody. And it'd be really good to know who the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, owes money to, because the American people have a right to know what is influencing the President's decisions. And is he making those decisions on the best interest of the American people, of you, or self-interest? So, Susan, I'm glad you asked about transparency, because it has to be across the board. Joe has been incredibly transparent over many, many years. The one thing we all know about Joe, he puts it all out there. He is honest, he is forthright. But Donald Trump, on the other hand, has been about covering up everything.
Thank you, Senator Harris. I want to give you a chance to respond, Vice President.
Well, look, I respect the fact that Joe Biden spent 47 years in public life. I respect your public service as well.
Thank you.
But the American people have a president who's a businessman, he's a job creator, who's paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes, payroll taxes, property taxes. He's created tens of thousands of American jobs. And the president said those public reports are not accurate. And the president's also released literally stacks of financial disclosures the American people can review, just as the law allows. But the distinction here is that Joe Biden, 47 years in public service, compared to President Donald Trump, who brought all of that experience 4 years ago.
Thank you, Vice President.
Turned this economy around by cutting taxes, rolling back regulation,
Thank you,
Vice President. Energy, fighting for free and fair trade, and all of that's on
Vice
line
President.
if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
You know, that's a
Blah,
great
blah,
segue
blah.
into our third topic, which is about the economy. This has been another aspect of life for Americans that's been so affected by this coronavirus. We have a jobs crisis brewing. On Friday, we learned that the unemployment rate had declined to 7.9% in September, but the job growth had stalled, and that was before the latest round of layoffs and furloughs in the airline industry at Disney and elsewhere. Hundreds of thousands of discouraged workers have stopped looking for work. Nearly 11 million jobs that existed at the beginning of the year haven't been replaced. Those hardest hit include Latinos, Blacks, and women. Senator Harris, the Biden-Harris campaign has proposed new programs to boost the economy, and you would pay for that new spending by raising $4 trillion in taxes on wealthy individuals and corporations. Some economists warn that could curb entrepreneurial ventures that fuel growth and create jobs. Would raising taxes put the recovery at risk? And you have 2 minutes to answer uninterrupted.
Thank you. On the issue of the economy, I think there couldn't be a more fundamental difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden believes you measure the health and the strength of America's economy based on the health and the strength of the American worker and the American family. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who measures the strength of the economy based on how rich people are doing, which is why he passed a tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America, leading to a $2 trillion deficit that the American people are going to have to pay for. On day one, Joe Biden will repeal that tax bill. He'll get rid of it. And what he'll do with the money is invest it in the American people. And through a plan that is about investing in infrastructure, something that Donald Trump said he would do. I remember hearing about some infrastructure week. I don't think it ever happened. But Joe Biden will do that. He'll invest in infrastructure. It's about upgrading our roads and bridges, but also investing in clean energy and renewable energy. Joe is going to invest that money in what we need to do around innovation. There was a time when our country believed in science and invested in research and development so that we were an innovation leader on the globe. Joe Biden will use that money to invest in education. So, for example, for folks who want to go to a 2-year community college, it will be free. If you come from a family that makes less than $125,000, you'll go to a public university for free. And across the board, we'll make sure that if you have student loan debt, it's cut by $10,000. That's how Joe Biden thinks about the economy, which is it's about investing in the people of our country, as opposed to passing a tax bill, which had the benefit of letting American corporations go offshore to do their business.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, your administration has been predicting a rapid and robust recovery, but the latest economic report suggests that's not happening. Should Americans be braced for an economic comeback that is going to take not months, but a year or more? You have 2 minutes to answer uninterrupted.
When President Trump and I took office, America had gone through the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression. It's when Joe Biden was vice president, they tried to tax and spend and regulate and bail our way back to
Oh, for fuck's sake.
President Trump cut taxes.
Did he really say
They
that?
believe that on Fox
Despite
News,
what,
dude. Like
Senator
that
Harris
works
says,
for them.
The average American
Bullshit,
family
obviously.
of four had $2,000 in savings in taxes. And with the rise in wages that occurred, most predominantly for blue-collar, hardworking Americans, the average household income for a family of four increased by $4,000 following President Trump's tax cuts. But America, you just heard Senator Harris tell you, on day one, Joe Biden's going to raise your taxes. It's really remarkable to think. I mean, right
Ooga
after
booga.
a time where we're going through a pandemic that lost 22 million jobs at the height, we've already added back 11.6 million jobs because we had a president who cut taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed American energy, fought for free and fair trade, and secured $4 trillion from the Congress of the United States to give direct payments to families, save 50 million jobs through the Paycheck Protection Program. We literally have spared no expense to help the American people and the American worker through this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to raise taxes. They want to bury our economy under a $2 trillion Green New Deal, which you were one of the original co-sponsors of in the United States Senate. They want to abolish fossil fuels and ban fracking, which would cost hundreds of thousands of American jobs all across the heartland. And Joe Biden wants to go back to the economic surrender to China, that when we took office, half of our international trade deficit was with China alone. And Joe Biden wants to repeal all of the tariffs that President Trump put into effect to fight for American jobs and American workers. Joe Biden says democracy's on the ballot. Make no mistake about it, Susan. The American economy, the American comeback is on the ballot. with 4 more years of growth and opportunity, 4 more years of President Donald Trump, 2021 is going to be the biggest economic
Can't have a
year
comeback
in
if we're all
history of this country.
Thank you,
dying.
Vice President Pence. Senator Harris.
Well, I mean, I thought we saw enough of it in last week's debate, but I think this is supposed to be a debate based on fact and truth. And the truth and the fact is Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000
He said
a
he's going to
year.
repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking.
be important if you said the truth. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year. Senator,
that is
that's the math.
absolutely not true. That
Is he
tax
only
bill-
cutting? Is he only going to repeal part of the Trump tax cut?
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden is the one who, during the Great Recession, was responsible for the Recovery Act that brought America back. And now the Trump-Pence administration wants to take credit when they rode the coattails of Joe Biden's success for the economy that they had at the beginning of their term. Of course, now the economy is a complete disaster. But Joe Biden, on the one hand, did that. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who has reigned over a recession that is being compared to the Great Depression. On the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who was responsible with President Barack Obama for the Affordable Care Act, which brought health care to over 20 million Americans and protected people with pre-existing conditions. And what it also did is it saved those families who otherwise were going bankrupt because of hospital bills they could not afford. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who's in court right now, trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which means that you will lose protections if you have pre-existing conditions. And this is very important, Susan.
Yes,
and it's
but we
important.
need to give Vice President.
He interrupted me, and I'd like to just finish, please. If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you. If you are under the age of 26 on your parents' coverage, they're coming for you.
Senator Harris, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me give you a chance to respond.
I love her.
Killing it. She is killing it.
I love her so much.
The American people remember it well. And President Trump and I have a plan to improve healthcare and to present,
and it's coming out in 2
pre-existing
weeks.
conditions for every
Such bullshit.
American.
Right
But
after
look,
Infrastructure
Senator
Week.
Harris, you're
exactly.
entitled to your own
Right?
opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts.
Oh, come on,
You yourself
pony.
said on multiple occasions when
Good
you were
line.
running for president that you would ban fracking. Joe Biden looked at a supporter in the eye and pointed and said, I guarantee that we will abolish fossil fuels. They have a $2 trillion version of the Green New Deal, Susan, that your newspaper, USA Today, said really wasn't that very different from the original Green New Deal.
Because the Green New Deal is good.
More taxes, more regulation, banning fracking, abolishing fossil fuel, crushing American energy, and economic surrender to China is a prescription for economic decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now.
He's making 40, 60 arguments that only play on Fox News.
Thank you very, very much, Vice President Pence. Once again,
He's not winning
provided the
anybody.
perfect segue
No,
to
no.
a new topic, which is climate change. And Vice President Pence, I'd like to pose the first question to you. This year, we've seen record-setting hurricanes in the South. Another one, Hurricane Delta, is now threatening the Gulf. And we have seen record-setting wildfires in the West. Do you believe, as the scientific community has concluded, that man-made climate change has made wildfires bigger, hotter, and more deadly, and have made hurricanes wetter, slower, and more damaging? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you, Susan.
Wetter and slower, Pence.
Well, first, I'm very proud of our record on the environment and on conservation. According to all of the best estimates, our air and land are cleaner than any time ever recorded. And our water is among the cleanest
That's just
in
not
the world.
true at all.
And just a little while ago, the president
They just
signed the
say
Outdoors
words.
Act. It's the largest investment in our public lands and public parks in 100 years.
Are you going to rake?
So President Trump has made a commitment to conservation and to the environment. Now, with regard to climate change, the climate is changing, but the issue is, what's the cause and what do we do about it? President Trump has made it clear that we're going to continue to listen to the science. Now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would put us back in the Paris Climate Accord. They'd impose the Green New Deal, which would crush American energy, would increase the energy costs of American families in their homes, and literally would crush American jobs. And President Trump and I believe that the progress that we have made in a cleaner environment has been happening precisely because we have a strong free market economy. You know, what's remarkable is the United States Hill, which would crush American energy, would increase the energy costs of American families in their homes, and literally would crush American jobs. And President Trump and I believe that the progress that we have made in a cleaner environment has been happening precisely because we have a strong free market economy. You know, what's remarkable is the United States has reduced CO2 more than the countries that are still in the Paris Climate Accord, but we've done it through innovation.
By shutting down.
We've done it through natural gas.
And they keep trying to stop the companies that are doing
Senator,
that.
The American people can go look at the record. I know Joe Biden says otherwise now, as you do, but the both of you repeatedly committed to abolishing fossil fuel and banning fracking. And so by creating the kind of American innovation, we're actually steering toward a stronger and better environment. With regard to wildfires, President Trump and I believe that forest management has to be front and center, and even Governor Gavin Newsom from your state has agreed we've got to work on forest management. And with regard to hurricanes, the National Oceanic Administration tells us that actually as difficult as they are,
Thank you, Vice President.
there are no more hurricanes today than there were 100 years ago.
What the fuck, you stupid drunk? For anyone listening, that's just fucking not true.
Thank you, Vice President.
Jesus Christ, you fucking clown.
President Trump and I are going to always put
Go
American jobs
fuck
and
yourself.
American workers first.
Senator Harris, as the Vice President mentioned, you co-sponsored the Green New Deal in Congress. But Vice President Biden said in last week's debate that he does not support the Green New Deal. But if you look at the Biden-Harris campaign website, it describes the Green New Deal as a crucial framework. What exactly would be the stance of a Biden-Harris administration toward the Green New Deal? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. So first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact. I will repeat that Joe Biden has been very clear that he thinks about growing jobs, which is why he will not increase taxes for anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. Joe Biden's economic plan, Moody's, which is a reputable Wall Street firm, has said will create 7 million more jobs than Donald Trump's. And part of those jobs that will be created by Joe Biden are going to be about clean energy and renewable energy. Because you see, Joe understands that the west coast of our country is burning, including my home state of California. Joe sees what is happening on the Gulf states, which are being battered by storms. Joe has seen and talked with the farmers in Iowa, whose entire crops have been destroyed because of floods. And so Joe believes, again, in science. I'll tell you something, Susan. I served, when I first got to the Senate, on the committee that's responsible for the environment. Do you know this administration took the word science off the website and then took the phrase climate change off the website? We have seen a pattern with this administration, which is they don't believe in science. And Joe's plan is about saying we're going to deal with it, but we're also going to create jobs. Donald Trump, when asked about the wildfires in California, and the question was, you know, the science is telling us this, you know what Donald Trump said? Science doesn't know. So let's talk about who is prepared to lead our country over the course of the next 4 years on what is an existential threat to us as human beings. Joe is about saying we're going to invest that in renewable energy. It's going to be about the creation of millions of jobs. We will achieve net zero emissions by 2050, carbon neutral by 2035. Joe has a plan. This has been a lot of talk from the Trump administration, and really it has been to go backward instead of forward. We will also re-enter the climate agreement with pride.
Senator Harris just said that climate change is an existential threat. Vice President Pence, do you believe that climate change poses an existential threat?
It's a trap.
As I said, Susan, the climate is changing. We'll follow the science. But once again, Senator Harris is denying the fact that they're going to raise taxes on every American. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that on day one, he was going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. Those tax cuts delivered $2,000 in tax relief to the average family of four across America. And with regard to banning fracking, I just recommend that people look at the record. You yourself said repeatedly that you would ban fracking. You were the first Senate co-sponsor of the Green New Deal. And while Joe Biden denied the Green New Deal, Susan, thank you for pointing out the Green New Deal is on their campaign website. And as USA Today said, it's essentially the same plan as you co-sponsored with AOC when she submitted it in the Senate. And you just heard the senator say that she's going to resubmit America to the Paris Climate Accord. Look, the American people have always cherished our environment. We'll continue to cherish it. We've made great progress reducing CO2 emissions through American innovation and the development of natural gas through fracking. We don't need a massive $2 trillion Green New Deal that would impose all new mandates on American businesses and American families.
Thank you.
Joe Biden wants us to retrofit 4 million American business buildings. It makes no sense. It will cost jobs. President Trump is going to put America first. He's going to put jobs first, and we're going to take care of our environment and follow the science.
Thank you.
Another 40-60 argument by Pence.
Let's talk about that. The vice president earlier referred to, as part of what he thinks is an accomplishment, the president's trade war with China. You lost that trade war. You lost it. What ended up happening is because of a so-called trade war with China, America lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs. Farmers have experienced bankruptcy because of it. We are in a manufacturing recession because of it. And when we look at where this administration has been, there are estimates that by the end of the term of this administration, they will have lost more jobs than almost any other presidential administration. And the American people know what I'm talking about. You know, I think about 20-year-olds. You know, we have a 20-year-old, a 20-something-year-old who are coming out of high school and college right now, and you're wondering, is there going to be a job there for me? We're looking at people who are trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent by the end of the month. Almost half of American renters are worried about whether they're going to be able to pay rent by the end of the month. This is where the economy is in America right now, and it is because of the catastrophe and the failure of leadership of this administration.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you just 15 seconds to respond, because then I want to move on to
Well, I'd love to respond. Look, lost the trade war with China. Joe Biden never fought it. Joe Biden has been a cheerleader for communist China through over the last several decades. And again, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. When Joe Biden was vice president, we lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs, and President Obama said they were never coming back. He said we needed a magic wand to bring them back. In our first 3 years after we cut taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed American energy, this administration saw 500,000 manufacturing jobs created. And that's exactly the kind of growth we're going to continue to see as we bring our nation through this pandemic. The Green New Deal, your massive new mandates, your Paris Climate
Pence, shut the fuck up.
It's going to kill jobs this time.
Oh, I wish I could be a moderator.
I just need to respond very briefly.
15 seconds, and
Thank you.
we'll move.
Thank you. Joe Biden is responsible for saving America's auto industry, and you voted against it. So let's set the record straight. Thank you.
I'd like to talk about China. We
How to be succinct.
as our next topic, we have no more complicated or consequential foreign relationship than the one with China. It is a huge market for American agricultural goods. It's a potential partner in dealing with climate change in North Korea. And in a video tonight, President Trump again blamed it for the coronavirus, saying China will pay. Vice President Pence, how would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Competitors, adversaries, enemies? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Susan. Well, before I leave that, let me speak to voting records if I can. You know, everybody knows that NAFTA cost literally thousands of American factories to close. We saw automotive jobs go south of the border. President Trump fought to renegotiate NAFTA. And the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement is now the law of the land.
Changed nothing.
American people deserve to know. Senator Kamala Harris was one of only 10 members of the Senate to vote against the USMCA. It was a huge win for American auto workers. It was a huge win for American farmers, especially dairy in the upper Midwest. But Senator, you said it didn't go far enough on climate change.
Right.
That you put your radical environmental agenda ahead of American auto workers and ahead of American jobs. I think the American people deserve to know that. It's probably
they're losing old people. They need young people. And the one thing every young person thinks is that climate change is real, and he's going to lose them now too.
2019.
Clown.
More liberal than Bernie Sanders, more liberal than any of the others in the United States. So, now, with regard to China, look, Susan, first and foremost, China is to blame for the coronavirus. And President Trump is not happy about it. He's made that very clear, made it clear again today. China and the World Health Organization did not play straight with the American people. They did not let our personnel into China to get information on the coronavirus until the middle of February. Fortunately, President Trump, in dealing with China from the outset of this administration, standing up to China that had been taking advantage of America for decades in the wake of Joe Biden's cheerleading for China, President Trump made that decision before the end of January to suspend all travel from China. And again, the American people deserve to know Joe Biden opposed President Trump's decision to suspend all travel from China. He said it was hysterical. He said it was xenophobic.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
But President Trump has stood up to China. We're going to continue to stand strong.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
We want to improve the relationship, but we're going to level
Keep
the playing
talking over
field.
him.
We're going to hold China accountable for what they did to America with the coronavirus.
Thank you. Senator Harris, let me ask you the same question that I asked the Vice President. How would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Are we competitors, adversaries, enemies? You'll have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Susan, the Trump administration's perspective and approach to China has resulted in the loss of American lives, American jobs, and America's standing. There's a weird obsession that President Trump has had with getting rid of whatever accomplishment was achieved by President Obama and Vice President Biden. For example, they created within the White House an office that basically was responsible for monitoring pandemics. They got away, they got rid of it.
It's not true.
There
It is true.
was a team of disease experts that President Obama and Vice President Biden dispatched to China to monitor what is now predictable and what might happen. They pulled them out. We now are looking at 210,000 Americans who have lost their lives. Let's look at the job situation. We mentioned before the trade deal, the trade war, they wanted to call it, with China. It resulted in the loss of over 300 manufacturing jobs and a manufacturing recession, and the American consumer paying thousands of dollars more for goods because of that failed war that they called it. Then let's talk about standing. Pew, a reputable research firm, has done an analysis that shows that leaders of all of our formerly allied countries have now decided that they hold in greater esteem and respect Xi Jinping, the head of the Chinese Communist Party, than they do Donald Trump, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. This is where we are today because of a failure of leadership by this administration.
Senator Harris, we've seen changes in the role of the United States in terms of global leadership over the past 4 years. And of course, times do change. What's your definition? We've seen strains with China, of course, as the Vice President mentioned. We've seen strains with our traditional allies in NATO and elsewhere. What is your definition of the role of American leadership in 2020?
So, Joe I love talking with Joe about a lot of these issues. And, Joe, I think he said it quite well. He says, foreign policy, it might sound complicated, but really it's relationships. So just think about it as relationships. And
throw up Andy Beale's
we know this
comment
in our personal and professional relationships. You got to keep your word to your friends. Got to be loyal to your friends. People who've stood with you, got to stand with them. You got to know who your adversaries are and keep them in check. But what we have seen with Donald Trump is that he has betrayed our friends and embraced dictators around the world. Let's take, for example, Russia. So Russia, I serve on the Intelligence Committee of the United States Senate. America's intelligence community told us Russia interfered in the election of the President of the United States in 2016 and is playing in 2020. Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, said the same. But Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, prefers to take the word of Vladimir Putin over the word of the American intelligence community. You look at our friends at NATO. He's walked away from agreements. You can look at the Iran nuclear deal, which now has put us in a position
right on, Ginny.
where we are
Mention
less
the Kurds.
safe because
Mention
they are
abandoning the
building up
Kurdish people.
what might end up being a significant nuclear arsenal. We were in that deal, guys. We were in the Iran nuclear deal with friends, with allies around the country. And because of Donald Trump's unilateral approach to foreign policy, coupled with his isolationism, he pulled us out and has made America less safe. So, Susan, it's about relationships. And the thing that has always been part of the strength of our nation, in addition to our great military, has been that we keep our word. But Donald Trump doesn't understand that because he doesn't understand what it means to be honest.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you a chance to respond.
Well, thank you. Well, President Trump kept his word when we moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, the capital of the state of Israel. When Joe Biden was vice president, they promised to do that, and they never did. We've stood strong with our allies, but we've been demanding. NATO is now contributing more to our common defense than ever before, thanks to President Trump's leadership. We've strengthened our alliances across the Asia-Pacific, and we've stood strong against those who would do us harm. You know, when President Trump came into office, ISIS had captured an area of the Middle East the size of Pennsylvania. But President Trump unleashed the American military, and our armed forces destroyed the ISIS caliphate and took down their leader, al-Baghdadi, without one American casualty. Al-Baghdadi was responsible for the death of thousands. But notably, America's hearts today are with the family of Kayla Mueller, her parents of which are here with us tonight in Salt Lake City. Today, two of the ISIS killers responsible for Kayla Mueller's murder
That's why they had the press
were
conference.
brought to justice in the
Yeah,
United
100%.
States. Jihadi John was killed on the battlefield along with the other Beetle. The reality is that when Joe Biden was vice president, we had an opportunity to save Kayla Mueller. Breaks my heart to reflect on it, but the military came into the Oval Office, presented a plan. They said they knew where Kayla was.
Hey, Greg.
Had held her for 18 months, abused her mercilessly.
He's talking about the administration that killed Osama bin Laden, right?
But when Joe Biden was vice
Yeah,
president,
no,
we
he's not.
hesitated for a month. And when armed forces finally went in, it was clear she'd been moved 2 days earlier. And her family says with a heart that broke the heart of every American that if President Donald Trump had been president, they believe Kayla would be alive today.
Thank you, Vice
He
President.
was.
We destroyed
You're right.
the
Sorry.
ISIS caliphate. And you talk about re-entering the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, the last administration transferred $1.8 billion to the leading state sponsor
Thank you, Vice
of
President.
terrorism. President Donald Trump got us out of the deal.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
And when Qasem Soleimani was traveling to Baghdad
Thank you,
to do
Vice President
harm
Pence.
to
Cut him off.
Americans,
Yeah,
President
turn his
Donald
fucking
Trump
microphone
Thank you,
off.
Vice
Turn his
President
fucking
Pence.
microphone
America
off.
is safer. Our allies are safer. And the
Turn
American
his
people know
microphone
President Donald
off.
Trump will never have
Fuck
Thank you, Vice
you.
President
take
Pence.
action.
I would like to give Senator Harris a chance to respond, but not
What a
at such
good
great
idea.
length because, of course, there are other topics we want to talk about.
But I would like equal time.
Yes,
Thank you.
please go ahead.
First of all, to the Mueller family, I know about your daughter's case, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What happened to her is awful. And it should have never happened. And I know Joe feels the same way. And I know that President Obama feels the same way. But you mentioned Soleimani. Let's start there. So after the strike on Soleimani, there was a counter strike on our troops in Iraq. And they suffered serious brain injuries. And do you know what Donald Trump dismissed them as? Headaches. And this is about a pattern of Donald Trump's, where he has referred to our men who are serving in our military as suckers and losers. Donald Trump, who went to Arlington Cemetery and stood above the graves of our fallen heroes and said, what's in it for them? Because of course, you know, he only thinks about what's in it for him. Let's take what he said about John McCain, a great American hero. And Donald Trump says he doesn't deserve to be called a hero because he was a prisoner of war. And this is very important when you want to talk about who is the current commander-in-chief and what they care about and what they don't care about. Public reporting that Russia had bounties on the heads of American soldiers. And you know what a bounty is? It's somebody puts a price on your head and they will pay it if you are killed. And Donald Trump had talked at least 6 times to Vladimir Putin and never brought up the subject. Joe Biden would never do that.
Thank you.
Joe Biden would, but Joe Biden would hold Russia to account for any threat to our nation's security or to our troops who are sacrificing their lives for the sake of our democracy and our safety.
Thank you, Senator Harris. This is such an important issue, but we have other important issues as well. And
Susan,
I want to make sure we have a chance
I really have to
talk about
respond to that. Look, she has
15 seconds because
well, I got to have
trying
more
to
than
keep.
that. Look,
well, I'm sorry, Vice President,
look,
but you've had more time than she's had so far.
The slanders against President Donald Trump regarding men and women of our armed forces are absurd.
I'm sorry, Vice
My
President
son
Pence.
is a captain in the United States Marine Corps. My son-in-law is deployed in the United States Navy. I can assure all of you, with sons and daughters serving in our military, President Donald Trump not only respects but reveres all of those who serve in our armed forces, and any suggestion otherwise is ridiculous.
Call him a liar right
Thank you,
now.
Vice President Pence.
The
Vice
American
President
people
Pence,
deserve, Susan,
Vice
the American
President
people
Pence,
deserve to know.
Vice President Pence, I did not, excuse me,
Susan, the
I did
American
not
people
create
deserve
the
to know
rules for tonight.
Joe Biden.
Your campaigns agreed to the rules for tonight's debate with the Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm here to enforce them, which involves moving from one topic to another, giving roughly equal time to both of you, which is what I'm trying very hard to do.
Go right ahead.
So I want to go ahead and move to the next topic, which is an important one, as the last topic was, and that is the Supreme Court. On Monday, the Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled to open hearings on Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to the Supreme Court. Senator Harris, you'll be there as a member of the committee.
Yes.
Her confirmation would cement the court's conservative majority and make it likely open to more abortion restrictions, even to overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling. Access to abortion would then be up to the states. Vice President Pence, you're the former governor of Indiana. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want Indiana to do? Would you want your home state to ban all abortions? You have 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
Well, thank you for the question, but I'll use a little bit of my time to respond.
Oh, for
fuck's sake. Before. The American people deserve to know Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian general, was responsible for the death of hundreds of American service members. When the opportunity came, we saw him headed to Baghdad to kill more Americans. President Trump didn't hesitate, and Qasem Soleimani is gone. But you deserve to know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris actually criticized the decision to take out Qasem Soleimani. It's really inexplicable, but with regard to Joe Biden, it's explainable, because history records that Joe Biden actually opposed the raid against Osama bin Laden. It's absolutely essential that we have a commander-in-chief who will not hesitate to act to protect American lives and to protect American service members, and that's what you have in President Donald Trump. Now, with regard to the Supreme Court of the United States, let me say President Trump and I could not be more enthusiastic about the opportunity to see Judge Amy Coney Barrett become Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Now, she's a brilliant woman, and she will bring a lifetime of experience and a sizable American family to the Supreme Court of the United States. And our hope is, in the hearing next week, unlike Justice Kavanaugh received with treatment from you and others, we hope she gets a fair hearing. And we particularly hope that we don't see the kind of attacks on her Christian faith that we saw before. I mean, the Democrat chairman of the Judiciary Committee before, when Judge Barrett was being confirmed for the Court of Appeals, expressed concern that the dogma of her faith lived loudly in her. Dick Durbin of Illinois said that it was a concern. Senator, I know one of our judicial nominees, you actually attacked because they were a member of the Catholic Knights of Columbus, just because the Knights of Columbus holds pro-life views. And
thank you, Vice President Pence.
So
your
my
time
hope
is
is
up.
that when the hearing takes place,
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
that Judge Amy Coney Barrett will be respected,
Thank you,
treated
Vice President
respectfully,
Pence.
voted and confirmed
Thank
to the
you.
Supreme Court of the United States.
Senator Harris, you're the senator from and former Attorney General of California. So let me ask you a parallel question to the one I posed to the Vice President. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want California to do? Would you want your home state to enact no restrictions on access to abortion? And you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you, Susan. First of all, Joe Biden and I are both people of faith, and it's insulting to suggest that we would knock anyone for their faith. And in fact, Joe, if elected, will be only the second practicing Catholic as president of the United States. On the issue of this nomination, Joe and I are very clear, as are the majority of the American people. We are 27 days before the decision about who will be the next president of the United States. And, you know, before, when this conversation has come up, you know, it's been about election year or election time. We're literally in an election. Over 4 million people have voted. People are in the process of voting right now. And so Joe has been very clear, as the American people are. Let the American people fill that seat in the White House, and then we'll fill that seat on the United States Supreme Court. And to your point, Susan, the issues before us couldn't be more serious. There's the issue of choice, and I will always fight for a woman's right to make a decision about her own body. It should be her decision and not that of Donald Trump and the Vice President, Michael Pence. But let's also look at what else is before the court. It's the Affordable Care Act. Like, literally in the midst of a public health pandemic, when over 210,000 people have died and 7 million people probably have what will be in the future considered a pre-existing condition because you contracted the virus. Donald Trump is in court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I said it before, and it bears repeating. This means that there will be no more protections if they win for people with pre-existing conditions. No. This means that over 20 million people will lose your coverage. It means that if you're under the age of 26, you can't stay on your parents' coverage anymore. And here's the thing, the contrast couldn't be more clear. They're trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Joe Biden is saying, let's expand coverage. Let's give you a choice of a public option or private coverage. Let's bring down premiums.
Thank you, Senator
Let's
Harris.
lower Medicare eligibility to 60.
Thank you, Senator.
That's true leadership.
You know, you mentioned earlier, Vice President Pence, that the president was committed to maintaining protections for people with pre-existing conditions. But you do have this court case that you are supporting, your administration supporting, that would strike down the Affordable Care Act. The president says, President Trump says that he's going to protect people with pre-existing conditions, but he has not explained how he would do that. And that was one of the toughest nuts to crack when they were passing the Affordable Care Act. So tell us specifically, how would your administration protect Americans with pre-existing conditions have access to affordable insurance if the Affordable Care Act is struck down?
Well, thank you, Susan.
Magic.
Let me just say, addressing your very first question, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. And this is another one of those cases where there's such a dramatic contrast. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth.
Jesus
Late-term
Christ.
abortion. They want to increase funding to Planned Parenthood of America. Now, for our part, I would never presume how Judge Amy Coney Barrett would rule on the Supreme Court of the United States, but we'll continue to stand strong for the right to
Stay
life.
on this
When
topic.
you speak about the Supreme Court, though, I think the American people really deserve an answer, Senator Harris. Are you and Joe Biden going to pack the court if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed?
Yes.
I mean, there have
Just
been
say yes.
29 vacancies on the Supreme Court during presidential election years, from George Washington to Barack Obama. Presidents have nominated in all 29 cases. But your party is actually openly advocating adding seats to the Supreme Court,
Which has been
which
done
has
before.
had 9 seats for 150 years if you don't get your way. This is a classic case of if you can't win by the rules, you're going to change the rules. Now, you've refused to answer the question.
You're right, Greg.
Joe
I just saw
Biden
your
has
face.
refused to answer the question. So I think the American people would really like to know, if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States, are you and Joe Biden, if somehow you win this election, going to pack the Supreme Court to get your way?
If somehow.
I'm so glad we went through a little history lesson. Let's do that a little more. In
Pence is like,
1864,
Could answer the question.
Mr. Vice President, I'm
Please,
speaking.
very
I'm
fast.
speaking. Okay. In 1864, one of the, I think,
Go
political
on.
heroes, certainly of the president, I assume of you also, Mr. Vice President, is Abraham Lincoln.
Mhm.
Abraham Lincoln was up for re-election, and it was 27 days before the election, and a seat became open on the United States Supreme Court. Abraham Lincoln's party was in charge not only of the White House, but the Senate. But Honest Abe said it's not the right thing to do. The American people deserve to make the decision about who will be the next president of the United States, and then that person can select who will serve for a lifetime on the highest court of our land. And so Joe and I are very clear. The American people are voting right now, and it should be their decision about who will serve on this most important body for a lifetime.
Thank you,
And
Senator
the
Harris.
people, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once
Come on,
again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
trying to answer you
The
now.
American people deserve a straight answer. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the straight answer is they are going to pack the Supreme Court if they somehow
Cool.
win this election. Men and
Mr.
women,
Vice
I
President,
got to tell you, people across this country, if you cherish our
And there will be
Supreme
taco
Court,
trucks
if
on
you
every
cherish
corner.
the separation of powers, you need
Yes,
to
please.
reject the Biden-Harris ticket. Come November the 3rd, re-elect President Donald
Anna.
Trump, and we'll stand by that separation of powers in a 9-seat Supreme
Oh,
Court.
Yeah,
mother.
let's talk about packing the court then. Let's talk about the
Please.
fact. Yeah, I'm about to. So the Trump-Pence administration has been, because I sit on
Greg,
the
it's
Senate
happening
Judiciary
again.
Committee, Susan, as you mentioned, and I've witnessed the appointments for lifetime appointments to the federal courts, district courts, courts of appeal. People who are purely ideological, people who have been reviewed by legal professional organizations and found to have been not competent, are substandard. And do you know that of the 50 people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments, not one is Black? This is what they've been doing. You want to talk about packing a court? Let's have that discussion.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Senator. Let's go on and talk about the issue of racial justice.
I just want the record to reflect she never answered the question. So I think the American people,
Thank
maybe
you.
the next debate, Joe Biden will answer the question,
Thank you,
but I think
thank
the
you.
American people know the answer.
Thank you, Vice President. In March, Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency room technician in Louisville, was shot and killed after police officers executing a search warrant in a narcotics investigation broke into her apartment. The police said they identified themselves. Taylor's boyfriend said he didn't hear them do that. He used a gun registered to him to fire a shot, which wounded an officer. The officers then fired more than 20 rounds into the apartment. They say they were acting in self-defense. None of them have been indicted in connection with her death. Senator Harris, in the case of Breonna Taylor, was justice done? You have 2 minutes.
I don't believe so. And I've talked with Breonna's mother, Tamika Palmer, and her family. And her family deserves justice. She was a beautiful young woman. She had as her life goal to become a nurse, and she wanted to become an EMT to first learn what's going on out on the street so she could then become a nurse and save lives. And her life was taken unjustifiably and tragically and violently. And it brings me to, you know, the 8 minutes and 46 seconds that America witnessed, during which an American man was tortured and killed under the knee of an armed, uniformed police officer. And people around our country of every race, of every age, of every gender, perfect strangers to each other, marched shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, fighting for us to finally achieve that ideal of equal justice under law. And I was a part of those peaceful protests. And I believe strongly that, first of all, we are never going to condone violence, but we always must fight for the values that we hold dear, including the fight to achieve our ideals. And that's why Joe Biden and I have said on this subject, look, and I'm a former career prosecutor. I know what I'm talking about. Bad cops are bad for good cops. We need reform of our policing in America and our criminal justice system, which is why Joe and I will immediately ban chokeholds and carotid holds. George Floyd would be alive today if we did that. We will require a national registry for police officers who break the law. We will, on the issue of criminal justice reform, get rid of private prisons and cash bail, and we will decriminalize marijuana, and we will expunge the records of those who have been convicted of marijuana. This is the time for leadership.
Mother's going to be mad. Decrimming marijuana might lead to dancing.
Black people in America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me pose the same question to you. In the case of Breonna Taylor, was justice done? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, our heart breaks for the loss of any innocent American life. And the family of Breonna Taylor has our sympathies.
Breonna, you fuck.
But I trust our justice system, a grand jury that refused the evidence. And it really is remarkable that as a former prosecutor, you would assume that an impaneled grand jury looking at all the evidence got it wrong. But you're entitled to your opinion, Senator. I think, look, and with regard to George Floyd, there's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd. And justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting that followed. I mean, it really is astonishing. Flora Westbrook is with us here tonight in Salt Lake City. Just a few weeks ago, I stood at what used to be her salon. Was burned to the ground by rioters and looters. And Flora is still trying to put her life back together. And I must tell you, this presumption that you hear consistently from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that America is systemically racist, and that, as Joe Biden said, that he believes that law enforcement has an implicit bias against minorities, is a great insult to the men and women who serve in law enforcement. And I want everyone to know who puts on the uniform of law enforcement every day, and President Trump and I stand with you. And it is remarkable that when Senator Tim Scott tried to pass a police reform bill, brought together a group of Republicans and Democrats, Senator Harris, you got up and walked out of the room. And then you filibustered Senator Tim Scott's bill on the Senate floor that would have provided new accountability, new resources. Look, we don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement, improving public safety, and supporting our African-American neighbors and all of our minorities. Under President Trump's leadership, we will always stand with law enforcement, and we'll do what we've done from day one, and that is improve the lives of African Americans.
Thank you, Vice President.
Record unemployment.
There is a fly on his head.
There is an actual fly on that turd's head.
I'd like to respond.
Oh my God.
I will not sit here and be lectured by the Vice President on what it means to enforce the laws of our country. I am the only one on this stage who was personally prosecuted, everything from child sexual assault to homicide. I'm the only one on this stage who has prosecuted the big banks
fly on the
for
head.
taking advantage of America's
he doesn't
homeowners.
even
I'm the only
know.
one on
Perfect
this stage
metaphor, man.
who prosecuted for-profit colleges for taking advantage of our veterans. And the reality of this is that we are talking about an election in 27 days, where last week, the President of the United States took a debate stage in front of 70 million Americans and refused to condemn white supremacists.
Perfect.
And
Not true.
it wasn't like he didn't have a chance. He didn't do it, and then he doubled down. And then he said, when pressed, stand back, stand by. And this is a part of a pattern of Donald Trump's. He called Mexicans rapists and criminals. He instituted as his first act a Muslim ban. On the issue of Charlottesville, where people were peacefully protesting the need for racial justice, where a young woman was killed. And on the other side, there were neo-Nazis carrying tiki torches, shouting racial epithets, anti-Semitic slurs. And Donald Trump, when asked about it, said there were fine people on both sides. This is who we have as the president of the United States. And America, you deserve better. Joe Biden will be a president who brings our country together.
Senator Harris.
And recognizes the beauty in our diversity and the fact that we all have so much more in common than what separates us.
Vice President Pence, let me give you a minute to respond.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that very much. You know, I think this is one of the things that makes people dislike the media so much in this country, Susan, is that you selectively edit, just like
Yes,
Senator
attack
Harris
the
did.
media.
Comments that
You're out
President
of.
Trump
You don't
and
have
I
any
and
good
others
ideas at
on our
all.
side of the aisle make. I mean, Senator Harris conveniently omitted after the president made comments about people on either side of the debate over monuments, he condemned the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, and has done so
When?
repeatedly. You're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis. President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter and son-in-law are Jewish.
He's got an actual
This is a
Nazi on his
president
advisory
who
staff.
respects and cherishes all of the American people.
You only
But
got rid of
talk about
Gorka
having
because they
personally
made him.
prosecuted. I'm glad you brought up your
The guy with
record,
the
Senator.
actual Nazi pin?
But I really need to make this point. When you were DA in San Francisco, when you left office, African Americans were 19 times more likely to be prosecuted for minor drug offenses than whites and Hispanics. When you were Attorney General of California, you increased the disproportionate incarceration of blacks in California. You did nothing on criminal justice reform in California. You didn't lift a finger to pass the First Step Act on Capitol Hill. I mean, the reality is your record speaks for itself. President Trump and I have fought for criminal justice reform.
Get frustrated.
Fought for educational choice and opportunities for
Do
African Americans.
something.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll do it for 4
Thank you.
Jesus.
There's no more important
That's the
issue
first
than the
points he
final
scored
issue
all
that
night.
we're going to talk about tonight, and that is the issue of the election itself.
Listen, he attacked my record. I would like an opportunity to respond.
Let me give you 30 seconds because we're running out of
I
time.
appreciate that. First of all, having served as the Attorney General of the state of California, the work that I did is a model of what our nation needs to do, and we will be able to do under a Joe Biden presidency. Our agenda includes what this administration has failed to do. It will be about not only instituting a ban on chokeholds and carotid holes.
Thank you.
Not only,
Thank you, Senator.
I would
Harris.
like to go through.
These are points that you made earlier in the hour, and I want to talk about the election itself before we have to.
But I want to talk about the connection between what Joe and I will do and my record, which includes I was the first statewide officer to institute a requirement that my agents would wear body cameras and keep them on full time. We were the first to initiate a requirement that there would be a training for law enforcement on implicit bias because, yes, Joe Biden and I recognize that implicit bias does exist, Mr. Vice President, contrary to what you may believe. We did the work of instituting reforms that were about investing in reentry. This is the work that we have done and the work we will do going forward. And again, I will not be lectured by the Vice President on our record of what we have done in terms of law enforcement and keeping our communities safe, and a commitment to reforming the criminal justice system of America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. And I'd like to pose I'd like you to respond first to the question on our final topic, the election itself. President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election. If your ticket wins and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what steps would you and Vice President Biden then take? What would happen next? You have 2 minutes.
So I'll tell you, Joe and I are, I think, particularly proud of the coalition that we've built around our campaign. We probably have one of the broadest coalitions of folks that you've ever seen in a presidential race. Of course, we have the support of Democrats, but also independents and Republicans. In fact, 7 members of President George W. Bush's cabinet are supporting our ticket. We have the support of Colin Powell, Cindy McCain, John Kasich, over 500 generals, retired generals, and former national security experts and advisors are supporting our campaign. And I believe they are doing that because they know that Joe Biden has a deep, deep-seated commitment to fight for our democracy and to fight for the integrity of our democracy and to bring integrity back to the White House. And so we believe in the American people. We believe in our democracy. And here's what I'd like to say to everybody. Vote. Please vote. Vote early. Come up with a plan to vote. Go to iwillvote.com. You can also go to joebiden.com. We have it within our power in these next 27 days to make the decision about what will be the course of our country for the next 4 years. And it is within our power. And if we use our vote and we use our voice, we will win. And we will not let anyone subvert our democracy with what Donald Trump has been doing, as he did on the debate stage last week, when again in front of 70 million people, he openly attempted to suppress the vote. Joe Biden, on the other hand, on that same debate stage, because clearly Donald Trump doesn't think he can run on a record because it's a failed record, Joe Biden on that stage said, hey, just please vote. So I'll repeat what Joe said. Please vote.
Thank you, Senator. Vice President Pence, President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election. If Vice President Biden is declared the winner and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what would be your role and responsibility as Vice President? What would you personally do? You have 2 minutes.
Well, Susan, first and foremost, I think we're going to win this election. Because while Joe Biden and Kamala Harris rattle off a long litany of the establishment
ideas
in Washington,
plans.
D.C., an establishment that Joe Biden's been a part of for 47 years, President Donald Trump has launched a movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life.
White nationalists.
And I have every confidence that those same Americans that delivered that historic victory in 2016, they see this president's record where we rebuild our military. We revived our economy through tax cuts and rolling back regulation, fighting for fair trade, unleashing American energy. We appointed conservatives to our federal courts at every level. And we stood with the men and women of law enforcement every single day. And I think that movement of Americans has only grown stronger in the last 4 years. But when you talk about accepting the outcome of the election, I must tell you, Senator, your party has spent the last 3.5 years trying to overturn the results of the last election. It's amazing. When Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, the FBI actually spied on President Trump and my campaign. I mean, there were documents released this week that the CIA actually made a referral to the FBI documenting that those allegations were coming from the Hillary Clinton campaign. And of course,
the FBI director, or I'm sorry, the CIA director in that moment today said this is not true.
The better part of 3 years.
John Brennan today said this is what was happening.
No obstruction, no collusion, case closed. And then Senator Harris, you and your colleagues in the Congress tried to impeach the president of the United States over a phone call. And now Hillary Clinton has actually said to Joe Biden that in her words, under no circumstances should he concede the election. So let me just say, I think we're going to win this election. President Trump and I are fighting every day in courthouses to prevent Joe Biden and Kamala Harris from changing the rules and creating this universal mail-in voting that create a massive opportunity for voter fraud. And we have a free and fair election. We know we're going to have confidence in it. And I believe in all my heart that President Donald Trump's going to be reelected for 4 more years.
You know, I've written all the questions that I've asked tonight, but for the final question of the debate, I'd like to read a question that someone else wrote. The Utah Debate Commission asked students in the state to write essays about what they would like to ask you. And I want to close tonight's debate with the question posed by Brecklin Brown. She's an 8th grader at Springville Junior High in Springville, Utah. And here's what she wrote, quote,
look at how excited she is,
news,
right?
All I see
and Pence is like,
arguing between Democrats and Republicans. When I watch the news, all I see is citizen fighting against citizen. When I watch the news, all I see are 2 candidates from opposing parties trying to tear each other down. If our leaders can't get along, how are the citizens supposed to get along? And then she added, your examples could make all the difference to bring us together, end quote. So to each of you in turn, I'd like you to take 1 minute and respond to Brecklin. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute.
Brecklin, it's a wonderful question. And let me just commend you for taking an interest in public life. I started following the news when I was very young. And in America, we believe in a free and open exchange of debate. And we celebrate that. And it's how we've created literally the freest and most prosperous nation in the history of the world. But I will tell you that don't assume that what you're seeing on your local news networks,
on your local presidential debate,
people. You know, I look at the relationship between Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late justice who we just lost from the Supreme Court, and the late Justice Antonin Scalia. They were on polar opposites on the Supreme Court of the United States, one very liberal, one very conservative. But what's been learned since her passing was the 2 of them and their families were the very closest of friends. I mean, here in America, we can disagree. We can debate vigorously, as Senator Harris and I have on this stage tonight. But when the debate is over, we come together as Americans. And that's what people do in big cities and small towns all across this country. So I just want to encourage you, Brecklin. I want to tell you that we're going to work every day to have government as good as our people. And the American people each and every day love a good debate. We love a good argument. But we always come together and are always there for one another.
Thank you,
in times of need. And we've especially learned that through the difficulties of this year.
Senator Harris, what would you say to Brecklin?
First of all, I love hearing from our young leaders. And when I hear her words, when I hear your words, Brecklin, I know our future is bright because it is that perspective on who we are and who we should be. That is a sign of leadership and is something we should all aspire to be. And that, you know, that brings me to Joe. Joe Biden, one of the reasons that Joe decided to run for president is after Charlottesville, which we talked about earlier. It so troubled him and upset him like it did all of us, that there was that kind of hate and division. What propelled Joe to run for president was to see that over the course of the last 4 years, what Brecklin described has been happening. Joe has a long-standing reputation of working across the aisle and working in a bipartisan way. And that's what he's going to do as president. Joe Biden has a history of lifting people up and fighting for their dignity. I mean, you have to know Joe's story to know that Joe has known pain, he has known suffering, and he has known love. And so, Brecklin, when you think about the future, I do believe the future is bright. And it will be because of your leadership. And it will be because we fight for each person's voice through their vote. And we get engaged in this election because you have the ability through your work and through eventually your vote.
Thank you,
to
Senator
determine
Harris.
the future of our country and what its leadership looks like.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Thank you, Vice President Pence. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, mystery guest fly number 1, who stole the whole show.
For its hospitality. And most of all, our thanks to all the Americans who watched this debate tonight. Again, our best wishes for a quick recovery to President Trump, the First Lady, and everyone who is battling COVID-19. The second presidential debate is next week on October 15th, a town hall style debate in Miami. We hope you'll join us then. Good evening.
All right.
Kamala, get out of there. Just fucking run the fuck out of there.
Don't touch anybody.
Get it. Is that? Oh, maybe that's your
That's her
husband.
husband. Okay.
That's allowed.
Just don't touch her. Oh, there's mother.
Events to watch as both candidates are joined on stage by their spouses.
The Fly was Pence's first black friend.
Kamala Harris set the tone early on within her first
oh my goodness.
That's some solid shit right
She called
there.
it the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country. And indeed, Mike Pence had a tough job with a losing argument. We say that because of a death toll that has tonight climbed north of 210,000 of our federal citizens. Mike Pence said tonight from that stage, Donald Trump has put the health of Americans first. Death toll numbers notwithstanding. He accused Democrats of playing politics with people's lives. Again, the death toll numbers notwithstanding. Social media held its own viewing party, as often happens. And on social media tonight, the talk was about an eye bleed that Mike Pence is apparently nursing, and the fly that hung out on the vice president for a good long time. Headline just issued by the New York Post about that. Indeed, the Republican Bill Kristol has awarded second place after Kamala Harris to the fly in this debate, but that verges on the silly. As a viewing event, a whole lot of people complaining about Mike Pence's inability or lack of desire to take a rap, take a cue, as we say in the television business, and finish up his answers. A time disparity noted by so many of the people watching. We will check the math.
Mike Pence's fly is a Twitter account now.
Our friends, Rachel Maddow, Nicole Wallace, Joy Reid, watching along with us. Take it away.
You know, I will say that what Brian was just saying about the fly, and the eye bleed thing, they were visually distracting and strange things. I don't think we need to dwell on them. Everybody knows what they were, but those were the oddities of this debate. Two weird things. One thing, something going on with Mike Pence's eye and that fly that nested in his hair quite comfortably for the length of an entire question. Other than that, it was like a visit to normal politics land.
Yeah, it was.
Fine and to be expected when it comes to Senator Harris, who has been a mainstream Democratic politician essentially her whole life, even though she's had an interesting sort of rise to the place that she's in right now in the party. But Mike Pence was visiting from another world in which the Donald Trump presidency is a normal Republican presidency, and he was defending it on normal Republican
The Fly already has
terms,
a Twitter account. That's cool as hell.
Which sort of, I think, would have made for potentially a consequential debate if Pence was describing a presidency that existed. Maybe that's the way it exists in his own mind, but it's not the presidency that we've all lived through. And so he was defending something that's nothing like what we've lived through.
Yeah.
And trying to talk Senator Harris into the idea that she's the one who would represent a significant departure from the norms of American civility and moderation that he and Donald Trump represent.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, I don't think this debate is going to move the needle either way. I don't think either candidate surprised. The surprise was in the distance, I think, between what Vice President Pence was defending and what we've all seen from the presidency he serves.
Well, and I think if it does anything, apart from the fly being hilarious, and there'll probably be lots of memes about it tomorrow, I think the one thing that it could do is cement Donald Trump's biggest problem. His biggest problem is with women, with suburban women. Mm-hmm. And every woman who's ever been repeatedly interrupted in a meeting, who's ever not been allowed to finish a sentence, who's had a man refuse to follow the rules, and just blow past whatever the norms and the sort of guardrails are supposed to be, when then you attempt to do the same, are mowed down. Just watch Mike Pence do a
The Fly has 9,000 followers already.
10 now.
Repeatedly
10,000.
interrupted her. He demanded. Well, he also repeatedly
the Lincoln
interrupted
Project
the other woman in
retweeted
the
it.
room, which is the
Oh my
moderator, who
God.
seemed to at some point lose control of him. And he also continually demanded that Kamala Harris answer his questions. She wasn't there to answer his questions. She was not there to do what.
Oh no, we lost it. Well, that's okay. That's okay. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us for this tonight. I mean, this made this bearable and fun. Both bearable and fun. That was a cool thing, and we all got to watch a fucking fly land on Mike Pence's head and hang out for a while. We have reached peak metaphor. Marco Rubio's cat is now following Mike Pence's fly on Twitter. Oh my God. Yeah, Devin Nunes' cow is going to get involved in this somehow. I can see it coming.
Yeah,
thank you for all
he
your
definitely
comments
has
and
to be in
questions.
on that. Dude, a fly landed on that piece of shit's head.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, the Lincoln Project has like an awkward close up of the fly. Like they like a smash zoom.
I saw people
right to the
commenting on it
fly's eyes,
and I was like, I couldn't
Hold
see
on.
it, and then he turned his head. It was like,
I'm gonna show you guys this. This is fucking funny as fuck.
This is best thing ever.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Hold on, look at this watch.
Oh my God.
Oh, they put noise on it. Hold on. They put noise on it. I did not expect that, and I should have.
Is
That
he
was
going,
my bad.
help me?
No, even better.
Okay.
There we go.
Corey's adjusting something here.
Is a great insult to the men and women who serve in law enforcement.
Oh, so good.
Okay. Do you guys name that tune?
Oh,
Everybody recognize it?
isn't that the Flight of the Bumblebee?
Flight of the Bumblebee. Yep, it sure is. That's pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
So Kamala Harris won this debate.
Yeah. And the fly came in second.
Running away.
Yeah.
And it went through all the way through with, I think, basically zero exceptions. He was either flat out lying so that only people that watch Fox News will believe him.
So
you have to be in the
anybody
bubble.
new.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to get any independents. You're not going to get anybody with any of those answers. Or he was talking about things like positions that the Republican Party has that are underwater.
Right.
Which is amazing. Like they
Banning
literally
fracking is amazingly popular. You know, it's talking like packing in the court is polling well.
It is.
It's
That's
like if you keep this up, we'll have taco trucks on every corner. That's why I said that. It's like,
right.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like you're threatening us with a good time again.
Right.
What's happening right now?
Right.
Anyway, I mean, yeah, the Fly's going to win it without a shadow of a doubt. And justly so.
Man. I mean, I was there for Where's the Beef? I was there for what's his name? Couldn't spell potato. This is the best debate humor moment that's
like he was even that freaking line about the line about facts was like,
oh yeah, he stole that from somebody. It was Daniel Moynihan, if I'm not mistaken, a longtime senator from years ago, was the one that said you're entitled to your own opinion but not to your own facts.
Yeah.
That's that, and he said it twice. He stole that line twice in 20 minutes.
It's like trying desperately to no, we're the ones telling you the truth. No, we're the ones telling you the truth. All right, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and Kamala's I'm speaking was perfect. That was exactly the weight.
And the weight.
Right tempo and tone. Yeah.
Right? Well, and the thing, how many times has she had to deal with this from fucking asshole men? And clearly she has decided to go right at that as she should.
That's your mom. Don't fuck around in the church pew look. That's what that look was.
Right? Like that made if Pence has a heterosexual bone left in his body, that made him a little horny. Sorry, mother.
Goodness. All right. So we're ready to get out of here. I'm ready to go like eat some chocolate because I didn't do that during the show and
do it up, Buttercup.
Oh my God, this was an amazing night. Thank you everybody for joining us. I think we're all pleased with how that went.
Yes.
Yeah. And by the way, the thing where she was letting him go on, I know some of you were really bothered by that, but all Kamala was doing was giving him rope. You know, letting him run out to the end of the slack and then hammering him every time. So I think it showed exactly that white male supremacy bullshit that we're so tired of when it comes to this presidency, this administration. And I thought it was fine. Would I have liked the moderator to step in a little more? Maybe, but it's just showed who Pence and Trump really are, which is they're men who like to dominate women, and that's not okay. And we should not be voting for that. So let's not.
Corey, your numbers are off a little bit. Usually around right now, the number of undecided voters is between 15 and 18%. Right now, it's down to 5%, which means 5%. All the polls are that much more accurate. Last time, there was way more undecided voters now than there was than there is now. So yeah, I mean, it's all looking good. Obviously, fucking ignore that and make sure if you haven't voted already, go do it. If you haven't registered yet, get that done tomorrow and drag 5 people with you to get it done. Because we definitely can't leave anything to even the microcosm of a chance.
And if you have questions on your ballot, questions on what to do, where to go, how to make it happen, give me a call, give me a message. And if I don't know the answer, we'll find somebody that does. All right. We love you guys very much. The fly on Mike Pence's head is real.